Brigitte Leloir-Kirakian for Asian Culture Lecture. We are in Cannes. And today we are interviewing Madhavan for his new movie, Rocket Rhythm.
I hope all this grand preparation is worth the outcome.
We had a story that we heard, and once we heard it and we met the man, we became desperate to want to tell the world about it, simply because nobody knew about him. Nobody knew his achievements or his sacrifice or what he did for India or what men like that do for their nations. So for me, it became more than a storytelling, more than making a movie. It became like a national duty, and that's why I started doing this film.
There should be a photograph of you in the Oxford Dictionary, right next to the definition of the word patriotism.
So this is your value to go on with your duties and try to, how can I say, show how people can be devoted to their country and to their science.
I don't want to venture out to tell people that this is how you do it, but for me it was that. For me it was when as actors or as storytellers or as directors, sometimes you need a motivation of why you're making the film. For me, it was the fact that more than a commercial venture, I wanted to do it as a tribute to this man.
And when did you meet him for the first time? Dr.
Nambi Narayanan. I met Dr. Nambi Narayanan in late 2016, early 2017. And it's been about 5 year long process. Having met him, understanding him, understanding his mannerisms, why he did what he did and what happened to him, what makes him tick, his likes and dislikes, all that. And after that, getting the script together was a 1.5 year ordeal, because I had to literally understand rocket science and be proficient in it, and then getting into the role and into the character. It was a journey that started in early 2017.
Sir, it's such an honor to meet you.
Oh, it's an honor to meet you too, Nam.
Was it easy to convince him to talk about his experience and all the difficulties he's been through?
He was skeptical at first because he was only worried about the case. He only wanted to. He felt a sense of betrayal, because he was accused of being anti-national, of being somebody who was a spy, and he wanted to get that story out about his innocence. But more than that story, I found his contributions had a much better role to play in awakening what we as a country are.
We need to use these rockets to launch satellites commercially. What they're asking for is impossible.
So he was reluctant at first, but after some time, he warmed up to the fact that our intent was actually good, and he started opening up brilliantly.
Well, for us, when we were students, studying science was very difficult. So for us, researchers are people who stay in their labs and think a lot. How did you imagine to put it on screen? What was the process to help the audience understand what was going on?
See, if it's a biopic of a profession that's easily understood by the public, for instance, a soccer player or a cricket player or a MMA artist, one doesn't have to explain the brilliance of the profession in terms of the theory of it. But if I tell you he's a brilliant economist or a brilliant scientist, then how do you explain to the common man what the brilliance is? That was a challenge. So for which I had to know filmmaking, storytelling, as well as understand completely about the rocket engines that we were dealing with, including the liquid engine that Mr. Nambi Narayanan made. So, and then amalgamate that in a manner in which will be palatable to the audiences, in such a manner that people who are proficient with the subject will not feel queasy or what, as they call it in today's world, cringy about what they are seeing. At the same time, the common man doesn't feel alienated. So that was the challenge as a writer that I faced.
Start training your replacements from tomorrow.
Sir, I can't do that. I don't have the time. If you don't like the way I'm working, then I'm happy to resign right away.
And how did you get prepared to direct and play? Because at this, were you held by a team? Because in the same day, would you play when he was young, and when he was old, or a mature person?
So in this film, the uniqueness of this film, which I think nobody else has ever done, is that there's no prosthetics. We have not, we're not bearing false beards or mustache, or it's all real. the weight, the hair, the podginess to the lean, everything is real. And that's probably why it looks so real.
Oh, so each time you had to transform yourself to be the young Nambi and the more mature one, and then the
No.
other one.
No. We got into the one look. So we started with the old Nambi and became young. And that's how the schedule was made. So we couldn't go back from being young to old again because there was no beard and mustache. So you kept getting smaller and smaller and clean shaven.
Yeah, so you couldn't reshoot anything.
No, we can't reshoot anything. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Getting a NASA fellowship in 3 months is pretty big by itself. You must be the real deal, Nambi.
So you went to Russia, Georgia, India to make the shooting. How did it go on? Is it a co-production?
Russia, Georgia, France, Canada. Yeah, we have no co-productions, nothing. It was just, like I said, a passion project that we all paid for.
And why did you choose Cannes to show Rocketry for the first time?
It was chosen by the Indian government as the film that they'd like to showcase, as the first film on a world premiere on the association that they had with Cannes, which is as a country of honor. So it's a privilege for us to be the first film to be shown on that platform.
Sir, everybody thinks the engine failed because of me, but the truth of the matter is I failed because of you.
Does the French government had watched the movie, and because there was a cooperation between the Ariane Aerospace and the Indian Organization for Space Research.
I don't know if the French government has. I mean, the only people who saw the movie were the ones who saw it yesterday. We haven't shown it to anybody else. But I sure hope they get to see it soon.
I love the sense of humor in the movie when the French couldn't understand when you were moving your head, and they were waiting for you to say yes or no.
Yeah, that's something that we have been through in real life, so we thought we should put it in the film.
Give us the hydraulic plant and all the equipment.
What you're asking for is £400 million worth of equipment.
At the beginning of the movie, we see that the laboratory is in a church. Mm-hmm. And I was asking myself, is it possible to create a laboratory in a church?
Since this film is a biopic, everything you saw is factual.
Oh, right.
It's nothing in that film is a figment of either our imagination or a stretch of the honest or the facts. They were all that you saw. In fact, things that you didn't see also are all facts. We chose to leave out facts to make the film more believable. If he had put in everything that was true about his story, it almost looks like a James Bond film and nobody would believe it.
I know as a nation we can't afford to pay you a dime, but we'll forever be indebted to you. Can you promise that the engines will be delivered on time?
I cannot promise that we will even be alive 2 hours later.
To answer your question very shortly, the first place where the ISRO was set up, it was called the Tumba Equatorial Research Center at that time, was in a church, Saint Magdalene Church in Kerala.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah.
So we know your career with, for example, Mani Ratnam movies and Rang de Basanti, Vikram Vedha, Three Idiots. What is the challenge for you now at this point of your career?
Fortunately, the way I handle my career has brought me to a situation where I have the liberty to choose the kind of subjects that I want to play. I don't feel frustrated if I don't do a film for 6 months. You know, I spend that time on research, and God's grace, doing all these films that you mentioned has given me enough financial security that I can hold on and not be running from one set to the other, which is not what I prefer to do. So that's probably the only success I have earned, is having the ability and the freedom to choose the kind of work I want to indulge in as next in my career. And I think that's a fair amount of, that's how I would measure success, you know. And if I don't feel like working, I don't want to work, I won't. I don't have anything to prove. Unlike the technology industry or the you know, other industries where you need to keep ahead of the curve, the only thing you need to do over here is stay ahead of your life cycle and experiences so that you can make a story that's relevant to the generations.
If you think this is such a futile exercise, why are you even here?
I'm here because what happened to me should never happen to anybody else in this country.
So Rocketry will be shown all over India in Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, Malayalam, English?
All over the world.
All over the world. Okay, great. So it's promotion time.
Yeah, so it's a worldwide release like all my films are. This time it'll have an additional language, which is English.
You cannot betray this country. Tell me what needs to be done to get you out of here, to right this wrong.
I'm really, really happy to have met you today, and
Thank
we
you.
wish your movie a big success. Thank you very much. Thank you for being in Cannes. It's a great pleasure to have you here, Madeleine.
It's a great honor to be here at Cannes. I've never been, this has been a debut in many ways because it's my first trip to Cannes as well. So it's so far turning out to be very, very unforgettable.
So I hope that we will see you again in Cannes.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Stop the engine! Stop! There's no time! It's time for you to take us to the stars.
What do you take me for? I'm a rocket scientist.
Asian Culture Vulture is here at Cannes 2022. Follow us on social media and check in on the website too for the latest Cannes updates.